This is where you at. I am Sibongile Mufukeng. It is just for you, with you, up until 11 o'clock. Do remember, at 11 o'clock, you have Germany, Yanni Belsa with Perspective. And we gave you the sounds of Kolim Kwango, Healing Power. And that's how we said goodbye to Pastor Merima Sina. And I see Mamulele King Racheti. And you say, we thank God for the life of those that are gone, but may the healing power cover them in Jesus' name. You always say, I trust for your loss and pain. Okay, trust God. I believe it says trust God. And I see praying hands there. Thank you so much. May the Lord cover them. May the Lord cover them, comfort them, heal them, be on a journey with them. Against in the studio met Danie vandaag, and he comes from the Child Protection Hotline. And today I discover Child Protection Hotline is the leg of the National Center for Child Protection. Hi, Danie. How are you?
I'm very well, and you? Thank you.
I'm good. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me again.
Danny, say for ons, are you with the box?
The box?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go book, yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
should be playing there. Why aren't you not playing in the squad? Are you not in the squad?
Well, I think age caught up with me at
Oh
some
my.
stage, unfortunately.
Oh my.
I still feel 25. I still tell kids at schools I'm 25, but my ID says I'm lying.
Your ID says you're older than that. And so we wish them all the best. They are playing again. Is it this Saturday?
Saturday, yes.
So we'll be wearing the colors of South Africa and rooting against them. I mean, I'm not against them, but for them. My mom always says, "I don't want to see. Just tell me the results."
Well, that's
I
good
don't wanna
because
see.
it
Just tell me
takes
the
a
result.
lot of energy to watch.
And then like the previous one when they were playing with England and England was ahead at the beginning, we were like, oh my.
That was tough.
That was tough, but we believe God for what's coming. Danny, talking about what's tough, we are experiencing a lot of exam stress in many children in the country right now, especially, I think, matriculants. You might correct me, but I think we put a lot of pressure on the matriculants because they are like at the verge of tertiary and high school. They're like crossing over, and everybody, the country, the families, the schools are putting pressure on them. You have been traveling around the schools talking to our children. What do you see when you're out there?
Well, yes, we see that there's a lot of exam stress. There's a lot of kids that actually don't know how to cope with what lies ahead. There's a lot of kids that have not put in the effort so far this year.
What?
And unfortunately, then this is a massive, massive mountain in front of them. Because to try and do a year's work in the next week or two is going to be practically impossible. So the matrics, yes, of course, they are on their way to finish with school, out of routine, running into unemployment rates that is sky high. So that is a massive stress. And as we know today, your 90% does not mean a guaranteed job anymore.
Yeah.
It also doesn't mean guaranteed bursaries at university. So if you have 90% plus and you don't have the means, it might be the end of the road in terms of studies. So there's a lot of other things I think that plays a role. And then obviously the exam itself. I don't know about you. I'm not a big stressor at all. So I kind of took it in my stride. Believed in what I put in before. But I see a lot of kids very, very concerned. And they are struggling. And that stress then boils over. Because see, if you stress before the first paper, by the last paper you are burnt out. And you are really, really struggling. And where do they go? What backup? I mean, we've had this chat before. What backup is there? So if you're in a home and you're now stressing and you don't have a relationship with mom and dad, you've now lost that in contact at school where there's a teacher that you can go to and say, listen, things aren't well. So what backup is there? And I think that is the main concern that we see is the kids saying, but now I'm going to be at home. I'm going to try and study. I'm going to try and be the best I can be. But there's a lot of other things that work against me. Or, like a child said to me last week, what does it matter whether I study or not? What does it matter whether I pass or not?
Aibo.
What do I do once I'm done? Because I don't have future plans.
Oh my.
You,
Now,
yeah, what do you do if you
like a week before the exam
A week.
starts, she doesn't have or he doesn't have any
Nothing.
future plans.
I mean, you can imagine
How
if
did
you.
that come about?
Well, I think again, if you imagine you're a child in an orphanage or a place of safety or something, a children's home, you're actually losing everything that you know in the next 2-3 months. The exam is the
Yeah.
last thing on your
On
mind.
your mind right now.
You're now thinking of where do I go?
Because at the age of 18, you have to, yeah.
100%. So maybe in that
Are
circumstance,
they not put into foster homes at that age? Or is it, or they're also older? They're,
too old. So then they can try and get into other types of places of safety, etc. But it's not the same. The kind of expectation is for them to now be grown up. How do you just become grown up?
at 18.
If you've got nothing, you don't even have that backbone. You don't have the Oma or Opa who's going to say, you know what, Mom and Dad's strict. Come over and have at least some dinner and
Then
a warm
that's
bed.
tough.
So, yeah, I think there's a lot of kids that struggle with things so much more that the exams, when I was at school, I had to concentrate. I've got exams, and now it's exam time. I think there's a lot
You
of
had to
kids,
make sure that you eat right and you study. That's all that you had to worry about.
100%. And I think there's unfortunately so many kids that have to worry about so much more. That the exams are such a small part of what they worry about, which is sad, because it would be ideal for them to say, concentrate on this, you do this well, something is waiting for you on the other side. And unfortunately, that's no longer the truth.
Now, family, we are talking exam stress with Danie, and you can ask questions. Maybe you're looking at your young person in the house, your teenager who's preparing to write, your young adult who's in tertiary, who's preparing to write, but you can see they're stressed a little bit and you need some advice from Danie. He's right here. You can call in and talk to us. And so what are some of the telltales that there is a stress where my child is concerned? Because sometimes we are not even aware.
I think, and you touched on it earlier, let's look at the way that they eat.
Okay.
Let's see if your child's eating. Are they eating differently? Are they refusing to eat? How is their interaction? Are they in a foul mood permanently? Are they irritable? Are they, can I say nasty? Are they nasty? Whatever happens at home, they get upset about it. It doesn't take a lot for them to get upset. Are they busy hurting themselves? Are they sitting at home in 30 degrees and they've got long jackets and so forth on? Are they self-harming?
Wait, we never pay attention to that. I've seen children wearing, like now it's very hot, and they would be wearing jackets and beanies on their heads. So you need to be concerned when you see that.
No, just have a look.
Because it's abnormal, to be honest.
It is. And one of the things we say at schools as well is, listen, it's 30 plus degrees. Some of you are sitting on with jackets. I don't mind if you always get cool and you always feel like it's cold, because you have that. Some people, I mean, you saw me in the winter. I never get cold.
Oh, yeah, and it's cold in the studio, so that I have this on my shoulders.
So we are different, but a lot of those kids, I mean, I spoke at a high school about 2 weeks ago, and we tend to forget that our boys self-harm as well. And the boy lifted his jacket on his arm, and he probably about 5, 6, 10 centimeters in, and he showed me about 7 or 8 cutting marks. And one of the reasons is that he cannot handle stress. He's struggling to cope. He was a matric boy, struggling to cope with what lies ahead, struggling to imagine. Because I think when you at school, and I mean, it was probably the same for me. I'm in grade 10, next year's going to be grade 11. I'm in grade 11, next year's going to be grade 12. You kind of have an idea where you're going. I think the matrics, a lot of them have no idea where they're going. They've got no idea what lies ahead. They've got no idea. I mean, I left home at 18, and not for any bad reason. We stayed in KZN. I wanted to study in Afrikaans, and I came to study at Tikkies, University of Pretoria. And I left home, and I was telling somebody yesterday that as a single guy, I knew I couldn't go to a hostel because if they bounced a rugby ball once, I would be playing and there would be no studying. So I went to stay in a little flat. And the first time I had to cook for myself, I went to Pick and Pay. So I love spaghetti bolognese, and I went to buy some mince, and spaghetti was easy. Put the spaghetti in the pot, boiling water, and I had this frozen ball of mince, and I put it in a pot, and nothing happened.
Oh my.
And then I had to start, and I started scratching, and I was like, oh, cool. Every time I scratch the browner part, there's a red part in the middle. It took me about an hour and a half to cook some mince. And I had to actually phone my mom and say, Mom, you need to kind of help me.
Yeah.
I have no idea what I'm doing. And then my mom was like, you never paid attention in the kitchen. I said, I kind of get that. But I think the timing now is wrong because I don't actually know what I'm doing. And that feeling in that moment of hopelessness, of thinking, how on earth am I going to survive? That was day one. And you quickly realize that 2-minute noodles is not a way of life, because then you quickly revert back to that. And then you get tired of eggs. And then you get tired of canned food. So the spaghetti and the tomato sauce was my favorite. And then one day my mom said, are you getting your veggies in? So I bought a can of veggies. They don't taste the same. That'll put you off for veggies for life.
Yeah.
And that's nothing else. You people that like it, I don't like it. And I think that thing of it's completely new.
Yeah.
Because you were doing school for 12, well, these days, 13 years, where everything was done kind of for you. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, you have to look after yourself. And I think that shock catches them. I did a grade 7 talk. I've done a few grade 7 talks in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And I said to the boys, do you boys, girls know what's lying ahead? And you know what all the boys asked me? What is initiation going to be like? Because nobody has that chat to them.
Yeesh.
So they're worried. Are they going to get beaten? Are they going to get hurt? What's going to happen? So just have that conversation. If you see your child is getting quiet, have that chat. Listen, what's wrong? What can I help with? What can we chat about? How can we help? Because it's not just your child writing exams. I know. I'm a parent.
You're
We write
also
with them.
writing.
100%.
You're also writing with them. When I left, also I left at the age of 18, also to tertiary. I couldn't sleep for about 3 days because my mom and dad drove me to the varsity, and they were there when I was registering, and then they left. And it felt like, where am I? Why am I not home at this hour? So pretty much for about 3-4 days, I couldn't sleep. It was traumatic, kind of like, I'm in this world all alone. My parents are not here. I'm not home. So you can just imagine what is going on in their minds. And I remember how excited I was when we went. There was orientation first that I was supposed to go to. The excitement was there. But now the reality came. So you can just imagine what goes into their minds. But aren't we also at fault as parents? And as schools, as government, aren't we at fault? We're putting so much pressure on them when they are in matric. Where else, when they were coming, we didn't even prepare them for this time.
Yes, I think you're 100% correct. And we do forget, and I tend to see that quite a lot. We tend to forget that these matrics never had a proper full grade 11. They didn't have a full proper
These
grade 10.
ones, yes.
They didn't have a full
With
proper
your
grade 9. With
COVID-19, yes.
So these matrics had a full year in grade 8. Grade 9 was by March, it was kind of completely democrat. Grade 10 was half and half, and last year, June, it only properly ended. So they had grade 8 and they had grade 12 as full school years. And we tend to forget that. We tend to, again, forget that there's a lot of trauma they went through, and nobody's talking about it. It's kind of, we've all now written it off, and we're all moving forward, and that's great. But there's a lot of them that we left behind. I spoke to a boy yesterday. So he's sitting there, and his teacher says, this boy is really struggling. He's a naughty little bug as well, out of his own mouth. And we had a chat, and at one stage I look at him and I said, boy, how old are you? He's in grade 7. He says, sir, I'm 15. And I'm saying, my boy, why are you still in grade 7? What happened? What's your story? And he says, sir, my sister left school at 13. My brother left school at 13. and I'm trying to finish it, but nobody showed me
How?
how. And I mean, I didn't say it to the boy, but my heart immediately goes out to the boy because obviously his mom and dad are either not strict enough or they just don't care for whatever reason. They might be addicts. I mean, he told me, but I don't want to get into too much detail. And you sit there and you feel, how on earth is this boy going to make it? He's going to be 18 in grade 10, meaning he's going to be able to drive, which is going to make him a soft target to be the designated driver for his friends who are going to become naughty. And by the time he's a matric, he's 20 years old, he's going to be a grown-up, and he's still going to try and be at school. So obviously my main thing was to motivate him on trying to get him done, that he finishes school after this in the next 5 years. And obviously puts the effort into the exams because the school's concerned that he might not be able to finish grade 7. And then he's going to be how old by the time he gets to high school? He's going to be the oldest in the school in grade 9. So there's a lot of things that are happening to our kids.
Sure.
A lot of them have parents that still haven't recovered properly from COVID. Nobody's had a chat to them about it. My boy's in grade 7, so his exams started in grade 4. They never wrote exams in grade 4. They wrote exams, but they were told from the start they can't fail. So nobody's had a chat to him or anyone else on how to study. I mean, I tried, but I'm not a teacher. So he had a tough grade 4, not just him, all of them. A tough grade 5, and he had grade 6 semi-decent, and now he's in grade 7. And I can see that studying doesn't come that naturally because he never did the grade, because in grade 4 you're not ready. But that's where we all started. We started with the exams. And so I'm concerned that I think we all need to take at some stage a step back and say, okay, a lot of things happened. You were locked into a house for nearly 2 years. What happened?
Yeah.
How did it happen? Let's go back there. Let's go clean there. And then let's move forward.
You mentioned when we spoke to you off the phone that there are those ones who are also suicidal during this time.
Well, a lot. Unfortunately, I had an interview on one of the TV channels a few weeks ago around suicide rates amongst children, and one of the times that there's an escalation in the numbers is specifically around this time when it gets to exam time. Because a lot of these kids, I mean, I spoke to a child the other day and the child said, oh, my parents are going to kill me if I don't get into the 90s. And I said, okay, so where are your marks now? In my mind, thinking they're around 85, 86 and it's motivation. In the 60s. And I'm thinking to myself, now you're putting... That girl's not going to get into the 90s, and I'm not dissing her. Let's get her to 65, then to 70, then to 75. Why on earth they want her to jump all the way to the 90s, putting so much pressure on her? So these kids feel that they're failing themselves, they're failing their teachers, they're failing their parents.
They're not good enough, they're not enough.
100%. And then obviously the other kids call them stupid. And then eventually it becomes a label and it becomes a jacket that they put on themselves, and they're like, but I'm okay, I am stupid, it doesn't really matter. And once a child gets to a space where they feel it doesn't matter, they don't feel they matter. And that's a very dangerous place to put a child in, especially if there's not that communication at home where a child can go and have that backing of saying, Mom, Dad, I just got 30% in maths. I'm struggling. My child, come and sit. Let's quickly see. What are you struggling with? Your numbers doesn't make sense. Okay. Would you be okay if we phone someone to give you extra lessons? Your dad, I would love that. Okay. Let's try that. If you don't have
Even
that,
try the school sometimes itself, because you might find there are teachers who are prepared to give extra.
100%. 100%. We do find that quite a lot of kids, I mean, if I look at my two, my boy loves maths. My girl, she dislikes it. And they've got the same teacher. And so sometimes it's just that somebody doesn't explain it to you in a way that you understand.
Yeah,
so
at
100%,
your level. They don't explain it at your level.
So some teachers are amazing. I mean, I would not be a good teacher for kids that struggle with maths. To me, it's a logical thing. And that doesn't make me right or wrong. It just means that my strong point wouldn't be somebody that doesn't have the basics. So yes, a teacher would be good as well. Like teacher, and I tell the kids at school, I say, listen, if you put in a lot of effort in the classroom and you go to a teacher and you say, teacher, I know I'm only getting 40, but I'm trying my level best. the teacher would probably say, listen, I can see you trying, let me help you. But if you are rowdy in a classroom and you're making noises and jokes and you're not putting your weight, and then all of a sudden before the exam, you say, teacher, I need help. That teacher might probably tell you, listen, I'm a little busy. And you need to understand that. And I remember doing it at one of the schools and one of the teachers nodding off. And I'm thinking, kids, see that because I've given you the golden ticket. I've showed you if you put in the effort, that teacher's going to stay behind.
They're going to put an effort as well for you.
100%, and then they'll listen. I mean, there's a movie where this person is struggling with studying, and then the teacher really sits down and says, okay, I can now see what your problem is. Let's try and attack this exam thing from another angle. And that eventually worked.
Yeah, sure, Danny. You are working with different kinds of families, schools. Do these things happen within those of us who are called by His name, who are called, and saved? Do we have such in our homes?
Yes, yes, of course. I think, oh, well, yesterday's a good example. So I was at a government school early in the morning. We spoke early yesterday morning, and I was on my way to a government school, and I got there, and it, things are tough at some of those homes. You can see it. You can see a child sitting in front of you, and their shirt's dirty. They've got teeth that have fallen out, rotten out. And then after that, I was at a private school where there was no shortage of anything. And I think what we need to realize is God is good, God is amazing, but we need to put in the effort. If I do not go and plant the seeds, it doesn't matter what God waters, nothing's going to grow. So I need to put in that effort to say, okay, Lord, I'm going to do my part. Because I can't do it without you in any case. So I'm going to do my part. But I can't just sit back and say, God will take care of this. Now, don't study, because then you're going to get the marks that you deserve. You're going to get the plants that didn't grow because you never planted the
And
seeds.
you might be surprised that your child, it might be the one who's the trouble in class, and you're saved. Lord Jesus is Lord and Savior.
Yeah.
But your child at school is known to be the villain of the school.
How dishonest are we as parents, eh? When our kids are the villains and they are the naughty ones, we are so blind to our own kids and their mistakes. We kind of have put our kids on a pedestal where we've kind of put them above God. We've kind of gone and said our kids are the most important thing. And it's so important to realize when your kids are struggling, or they're the one, like you said, that's the naughty one in class, to sit down and take that step back and assist them. Because if your child sees that you are ignoring the things that they are doing wrong, they're accepting that it's right. And that is really, really dangerous.
And they grow like that.
100%.
What kind of society are we raising? All right, Danny, let's take a break. Danny, I keep saying Danny. Danny, let's take a break. And when we come back, let's talk about how we can notice that the suicidal tendencies in my child and what can we do in that space during this time. Oh my, may the Lord change the story of our children's lives, especially those that are struggling with exam stress during this time.
conference ticket on manufacturingindaba.co.za or call 011 463 9184.
One vision, one voice, one message. Radio Pulpit 657 AM and 729 Cape Pulpit, impacting lives from Gauteng to the Cape.
Our work is pretty much or has been cut out, the Lord has decided what we ought to do, and praying for our children is one of the things that we need to do on a daily basis. If you can, even lay hands on them, even pray for those children that are in your neighborhood, in your church, in your community, everywhere. Pray for our children. The enemy will attack them. He's not going to spare them because they are young. He will attack them at an early age. We gave you the sounds of Chicolin Carr, changing your story. I'm not alone. I'm with Danie in the studio from Child Protection Hotline. We're talking exam stress. Natasha Barnes, we see you saying morning, a good talk. Thank you so much. And yes, family, you can talk to us. You get questions, you get comments. We'd like to hear from you. So the lines are opened for you on 0123341322. I see Germany, Yanni Belsa is getting ready. He will be taking over from 11 o'clock. He is getting ready right there. So Danie, you were talking about some children who are suicidal during the time, especially during exam time. What are some of the telltales now?
Okay, so a change in behavior, a change in eating habits, a change in communication, and then also just their dress. How do they dress? Like we said earlier, do they dress appropriately, or are they dressing in long jackets and stuff while it's very, very hot? Also, if your child used to swim, for example, your girl or even your boy used to swim in a full costume, and then they changed to something like a bikini, and then they've changed back to a full costume. So what a lot of girls and boys do, they know now that their parents know that they cut on their arms, so they stop that. Then they start cutting on their bodies. And when you then wear a full costume, you can actually hide that from people. So I'm not saying force your child to wear a bikini, but what I'm saying is if your daughter went from a full costume to a bikini and now back to a full costume, or your boy all of a sudden wants to swim with his shirt on when he did not used to do that, it doesn't mean there is something, but it could be a conversation that is a good idea to just knock on that door. Just say, "Hey, you know what?
What about the sleeping patterns?
Sleeping patterns are influenced as well, but see, your concern is that a lot of these kids have parents that misuse sleeping tablets. So a lot of these kids use sleeping tablets and so forth. I mean, I was at a school the other day where, this child had more pills than I've probably seen in most pharmacies. So these kids have access to things that we didn't have access to. I mean, in the house I grew up, we had Panados and we had Disprins, and that's what we had. And if you really, really felt that you had a headache or something, you could get two. That was it. And there's nothing wrong with that, because that's the same way we grow up, and I don't even think I've got anything at home at the moment. But these kids see their parents not coping. Remember, your kids see what you are doing more than what you say.
And monkey see, monkey do.
100%. So when you're now using tablets to fall asleep, also when you've got bad sleeping habits, they develop bad sleeping habits. We hear of parents that have a TV in their bedroom, and then they watch TV until midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. The kids develop those same patterns. So now you wouldn't know if your child had bad sleeping habits, because you wouldn't be able to see it. Because how would you see it? Your child is acting in the same way that you are acting. And I mean, as a parent, I daily get reminded of the fact that what I do is seen by my children, and it allows them to think differently, in the sense of whatever I say gets tested against my own words. I mean, I've preached in church, and then my kids would sit there, and after church, they don't tell me that they listen. They was like, "Dad, you just said this. In our house, this happened. Why?"
Yeah.
And then I'd explain to them the difference and how they interpret it and so forth. But kids are not stupid at all. So have a look. You'll see a change in behavior. You'll see the way that they answer. And pay attention to that, but also give them your time. Sit and ask them, What are you writing about? Dad, I'm writing about history. Okay. What are you guys studying in history? Dad, you don't need to know. No. I want to know. Dad, we're talking about whatever the case might be. Let's say World War One. Okay. What are you learning about World War One? Get your child to share with you the knowledge that they've gained. Show them your interest, because when you are interested, they're going to want to learn to teach you. And people forget that. I tell a lot of parents to go and look at what your child likes.
Okay.
And then get them, even if you know a lot about it, go and listen. Be open to be educated by them.
Sure.
Whether that's playing a game or whatever. Don't tell them you're that clever. It's the same in relationships. If you're in any relationship and you know everything, your partner's not going to speak to you. Because what would they tell you? So sometimes, even when you know, it's the only way to know what your partner wants to tell you is to listen.
Sure. And now, Danie, in terms of us helping them through the stress time, what do we need to do?
Okay. Sit down, listen, communicate, and also pay attention, so that you know if there are changes. And like I said, just pay some attention. Just give them some of your time to sit down. You know, it's one of the scariest things when I'm at a school and I ask the kids, have you ever gone to your parents and wanted to ask them something, and the parent said, you know what, I'm just busy, ask me later, and then you can actually see that they're currently on Facebook or TikTok or wherever. You know that more than 90% of all kids that I see give me the answer of yes, sir. That happens a lot. So put down your phone, not on the table where you are. Go put it down somewhere else. Nobody that calls you in that moment is more important than the conversation you need to have with your child.
Sure.
Have that conversation. My son, my little girl, where are you? What are you writing? Okay. So in our house, the way that it works is my kids go study. I trust them enough to allow them to study. I don't sit with them when they study. And then I ask them afterwards. So I sit there and I go through that, whether it's 10 pages or 100 pages, and I start from one side of it and I start asking them questions. And then I also teach them how to remember certain things. For example, if one of the things I won't forget is my boy had to learn what would a water tanker do, what would be the negatives of a water tanker. Well, the water runs out. There's long queues. You might stand in a queue and not get water. And I explained it to him. So I took a car and I said, this car is now filled with water. If there's 100 people here, what's the first thing you see? Well, that car cannot have enough water for all those people. Great. So go and show them things, because remember, they are a part of you. So maybe they are looking at those words and the words are not sticking. Go and give them examples for them to think about, so that they can relate to it in a different way or manner. I saw the most amazing meme on Facebook. This boy was sitting and he was opening his book, and he took the book and he took his hands and he was like, go in.
No,
Go
shame.
Don't do that. That doesn't work. But that was so cute. So just sit with them and see where they're struggling. Because see, if you sit with them and you ask them, whether you draw up tests, because a lot of parents I see on our parents groups, they share all tests from previous years and stuff. That's good. Some people can do that. I prefer to sit with my kids and ask them stuff and then see what they don't know, so that when I ask them a second time, I can say, remember this, remember that, and teach them how to remember certain things, show them certain things. A lot of them are writing exams on technology. One of the things, technology is computers, cell phones. So show it to them. My child, this is technology.
Right.
This is what it does, so that when they sit there and they get the question, they can think back to practical examples.
Wow. And Danie, when it comes to the one who's listening to us right now, who is writing, maybe they're sitting, their mom is listening to Radio Pulpit or Granny or whoever, or because most of the houses keep the radio locked on Radio Pulpit, and they're studying right now, preparing for the exams. What words would you share with them right now?
Calm down. You've got this. The one that died for you on a cross knew this day would come.
Right.
He already knows what the questions are. If you just put in effort, and you can only put in effort when you've cleared your mind, you've calmed down,
Mm.
and you're going to take it step by step. Nothing works any other way. So calm down. Go and I always challenge the kids. I say, go to the mirror where you brush your teeth. Because that's the mirror where you've probably said the most negative things about yourself in the shortest amount of time. Just tell yourself, I like you.
Wow.
You do it morning, afternoon, at night. And when you get into that habit, the boundaries that you set because you like yourself, you will never allow somebody to abuse you because you like yourself. You wouldn't cut on that beautiful body because you like yourself. You wouldn't be hurting that beautiful body because you like yourself. So just calm down. Stop whatever you're doing. Calm down. Go to that mirror. Say that. Take some water, splash your face, wipe it off and say, you know what? I've got this. I've got this. And 50%, 60%, 70%, that's not the end goal. We were both at school. I don't know what marks you got. You don't know what marks I got. So it feels like everything right now, and do work hard for the marks. But that does not influence what you can do or cannot do one day.
That doesn't say who you are.
Not at all.
You know, as you're saying this, I'm also reminded that there are those ones who got your 80s, your straight A's, and they got to tertiary and they were the ones who are getting the D's now. And the ones who were getting the 60s were the ones who were getting straight A's in tertiary because life, the one who has created us knows better about us. Danie, thank you so much for coming through and opening our eyes in this. And I think we need to pay attention and help them through their exams. But what I've learned today is that let's start them young. Let's prepare them for matric when they are still in primary. Prepare them for matric so that they can bear the stress that comes with it. I mean, the whole country is talking about what do you call them? Matriculants.
Yes.
All the schools, all the departments, every parent, it's too much. It was too much for us. And we can make it a little bit easier on our children, prepare them when they come. That at the end, like you said, now you're teaching your son how to study. He didn't know how to do that. And when they get to this part and time, they can do it. So for parents who are seeking more advice, how can they reach the Child Protection Hotline? How can they reach you guys?
I think the best number to share is the number that we have in partnership with you guys, and the one we've got in partnership with I Am Youth as well, because that would be the one where we've got dedicated counselors and so forth that are really brilliant at what they do. So that number is 076 037 6345. So that is a counseling. There's a lot of amazing counselors on there. They have ideas. All of them are clever people. They have not only finished school, they've also got degrees, honors degrees, and so forth. Some of them have master's degrees already. So they have a few ideas on how to sit still and study, because that was normally my most difficult part, sitting still.
Some of us are audio-visual, so you have to draw to keep us busy,
Yes.
to keep us sitting. And so know your child. Thank you so much, Danie, for coming through. May God awesomely bless you and bless the workers of your hands. I know it's not easy, but it's doable through Christ. Thank you for loving our children the way you do as well. As you're taking care of our children, may the Lord take care of yours as well. Thank you so much. And on the other side, Germany, Jannie Pelser. Hoe gaan dit met u vandag, Germany? Kan jy my hoor?
Ek sit nou so heerlik hierso in tik op my rekenaar en ek vermoed al wat julle aan daai kant hoor is tik 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 tik. But I always enjoy your show and thank you for your kindness. It's so wonderful to listen to you and the many people that you invite and the perspectives that come on the table. We're going to talk about this wonderful, wonderful country of ours, South Africa, and the possibilities. There's so much negativity. And we face many, many challenges, but God is in control. He's on the throne. And we're going to talk about the possibilities that this country still has to offer. And there are many, many, many wonderful things that we can be busy with.
We can't wait. We'll be tuned in. Thank you so much, Germany, Yanni Belser. Thank you. And
Appreciate it.
Germany, Yanni Belser is next on Perspective. And Danie, isn't it what we were talking about just now? They're going to be addressing that. And talking about the possibilities that are there in South Africa. Natasha Bant is asking for your email address quickly.
They can email me directly, Danie, Danie, at childprotection.co.za.
Wow, thank you so much, Danie. Thank you. And family, let's meet on Saturday on the Ultimate Lifestyle Guide. Danie at childprotection.co.za. Family, I'm signing out. Love you. Bye.
Hlala umamele umhlobo wakho wemihla ngemihla. Fumana i-app yethu kwi-App Store okanye kwi-Play Store. Kungenjalo, qhagamshelana nathi ku-radiopulpit.co.za.